जो मैंने सीखी है कि पिक्चर दिल से बनाओ, पिक्चर से दिल मत लगाओ कमिंग। आई रिमेंबर जब बड़े मियाँ छोटे मियाँ और वो मैदान रिलीज होने वाली थी, तो उससे पहले हमारे अंदर वो बातें हो गई थी कि चलो ये लाइफ टाइम है, अब खत्म, लेट्स गो होम, अभी हो गया। फिल्म्स लाइक अंदाज अपना अपना एंड हेरा फेरी आर लाइक द इक्विवेलेंट वुड बी लाइक शोले एंड दीवार। यू नो इनिशियली जब मैंने लिखी थी तो आई रिटन वन ऑफ द पार्ट्स फॉर माय सेल्फ, डोडोस पार्ट वाज, एंड आई डिडंट नो आई वाज गोना डायरेक्ट इट। मैंने इस फिल्म का क्लाइमैक्स कभी नहीं लिखा था। If you have a good scene, a good actor can do wonders with it, and I think he did that in Animal and in Madgaon as well. Dude, I didn't even know if director is my genre.
But it happened now.
It has happened. मैं पहुंच गया हूँ। गोवा नहीं पता नहीं, खुद को कहीं और ही लगते हैं। तो ऐसे ही पौंडीचेरी came to my mind, so I said पौंडीचेरी में। I have to write it, and it has to be, at least to me, it has to be, if not one step, but at least as funny as the first one. He had already put that. I laughed so much and I said, "ये क्या है?" He said, "ये वो लक्ष्य क्या है?" I said, "ये mind blowing है यार." Of course it was. Or not, I don't know.
Hi guys, this is Himesh and welcome to Pinkvilla. Today we have with us Kunal Khemu, who just tasted a massive success in the form of Madgaon Express. Welcome to Pinkvilla, Kunal.
Thank you so
and
much.
Congratulations firstly.
Thank you.
8-week run is something which is very rare for a feature film in modern times. It has been 8 weeks and Madgaon Express is still going strong. How does it feel?
You know, you said it the best when I came here. I think the only feeling that I can kind of say is you feel relaxed.
Yeah.
And you feel, I used to always feel कि you know जब पिक्चरें चलती हैं तो डायरेक्टर्स को कैसा लगता होगा एज मेकर्स कि उनकी तो चांदी होगी, अब ये है वो है। बट देन फर्स्ट हैंड आई रियलाइज कि उस फ्राइडे सैटरडे संडे भी जो नर्वसनेस थी ना, उससे रिलीज से कम 1 हफ्ता या 10 दिन पहले आई रिमेंबर एंग्जाइटी होती थी रात में। मैं बीच में जागता था कि क्या होगा, हाउ विल पीपल फील, यू नो व्हाट विल द क्रिटिक्स से, विल द मासेस लाइक इट, मल्टीप्लेक्स में ज़्यादा देखेंगे लोग, सिंगल्स, यू डोंट नो एनीथिंग राइट। इट्स लाइक अ रिपोर्ट कार्ड जो हर दिन आता रहेगा, फ्राइडे सैटरडे संडे मंडे ट्यूसडे, बॉक्स ऑफिस का रिपोर्ट कार्ड, क्रिटिक्स का रिपोर्ट कार्ड। एंड वो जैसे प्रेस स्क्रीनिंग की जो आपने बात की, तो वहाँ पर जब हम खड़े थे एंड आई वाज हियरिंग ऑल ऑफ योर लाफ, आई थॉट कि कहीं ना कहीं सुर तो सही लग रहा है। तो वो पहली रात थी जब मुझे नींद अच्छी आई कि ये सोच के कि यार चलो एक लिटमस टेस्ट तो पास हो गया। उसके बाद फॉर एवरीथिंग इट्स जस्ट बीन लाइक अ ब्लेसिंग, इट्स जस्ट बीन समथिंग दैट I'm very thankful to the audiences and the critics who've given it so much love, and I know there has been some repeat audience to this, which I'd always imagined or hoped for. So I'm very excited and very happy for it.
But did you expect this sort of run for the film? Because you know, it has broken all the rules of the kind of films that are working in the post-pandemic world. लोग कहते हैं बड़ी फिल्में, बड़ी star cast की फिल्में चलेगी, and here is a small film with great actors but not stars in the conventional sense, and yet it has done 35 crores, which is very good number for.
No, exactly. I mean, if you ask me today कि क्या सोचा था, क्या hope किया था, actually, you know, अभी because I've been in the industry for such a long time, I've kind of managed my expectations also, because आपके हाथ में ही नहीं है। अगर सब किसी को पता होता कि क्या फॉर्मूला है तो सब वही करते, राइट? तो आप हमेशा मैनेज करते हैं एक्सपेक्टेशन। बट मुझे एक चीज़ पता है जो मैंने सीखी है कि पिक्चर दिल से बनाओ, पिक्चर से दिल मत लगाओ। क्योंकि यू डोंट नो, आप अपना काम दिल से करें और आगे बढ़े। हैविंग सेड दैट, इट्स वेरी टफ टू डू। तो होप यही थी कि लोगों को पसंद आए, जिन्होंने इसमें पैसे डाले उनके पैसे वापस आ जाए, और जिस एक कलाकार ने, जिस एक टेक्नीशियन में इसमें काम किया है, उन्हें कम से कम दे फील प्राइड एंड दे फील हैप्पी टू एसोसिएट विद दिस फिल्म। दैट वाज माय प्राइम गोल। आई वाज लाइक ये तो बेयर मिनिमम है, ये तो हिट हो जाए ना तो ग्रेट। Everything over and above that, like honestly, if you'd asked me at any point of time, said box office तो मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन अगर आप ये भी कहते कि ये 6 weeks run in the given scenario, it's like I feel it's an achievement for us to do 50 days, because also the kind of films that were coming. I remember जब बड़े मियाँ छोटे मियाँ और वो मैदान रिलीज होने वाली थी, तो उससे पहले हमारे अंदर वो बातें हो गई थी कि चलो ये लाइफ टाइम है, अब खत्म, लेट्स गो होम, अभी हो गया। बट फिर शो बढ़ना, एंड देन देयर बीइंग अ डिमांड फॉर दिस, और आज भी हम थिएटर्स में जब आई थिंक 2 या 3 दिन में हम Amazon प्राइम पे हमारी फिल्म आ जाएगी, which I'm also excited about because it will get a wider audience, but to still be in theaters, I had not imagined that.
But Kunal, as an actor, you have done so many comedy films. How much did that experience help you as a director?
A lot. I think not just doing comedy films as an actor, but also working with all the directors that I have since my childhood.
Yeah.
I think they've all been my teachers because I've learned on the job.
Yeah.
As an actor, as a writer, as a director, and didn't kind of go through any formal training. Just my love for cinema was the passion that drove me towards wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And then again, reading so many scripts, meeting so many writers, and being in those rooms, hearing discussions, kind of was subconsciously, I think, preparing me for this. And as a director also, everybody that I worked with, and what I think as an actor has helped me is, at least I know whatever breed of actors I may represent, what their expectation is from a director, or how they think or how they feel. So maybe that's kind of played, so I was able to communicate with my actors, I think, in a better way because of that.
Correct. But when I was watching it, I got a vibe that this is Hera Pheri, Andaz, Apna. It's a comedy in that zone. Right. Were you in any way inspired? It's like Hangover in the world of Hera Pheri and Andaz, Apna. Were you inspired by those films?
The films that you've named are like my all-time favorite film. Andaz Apna, I think मेरी उम्र के उस generation, decade के हर किसी को Andaz Apna will be the film to go to. So just to be mentioned in the same category of these films is a huge honor. I have, I won't say I wanted to derive from those films, but those films have been a part of my ecosystem. Yeah. Like Andaz Apna के dialogues आज भी हम, it's become a part of our lingo. So of course, it's been imbibed within me. I think Hera Pheri again was a trend-setting film, which was of a different style. Hangover again was a film that was very aspirational. मुझे याद है कि उस फिल्म में एक चीज़ खास थी कि जब मैं थिएटर में गया था, यहीं पे एक्चुअली सिटी मॉल में तब फीम एड लैब करता था, देखने गया था, और वहाँ पे ना लोग ऑलरेडी मन बना के आए थे कि ये मज़ेदार फिल्म है, तो स्टार्टिंग से लेकर ही वो हंसी शुरू हो गई थी. एंड आई ऑलवेज wondered कि ये what is the magic of cinema. and दिल चाहता में भी ऐसा होता है. मैं चंदन में देखने गया था और वो थिएटर ना पार्टी हॉल बन गया था. Everybody was there to have fun. So I always imagined or let's say wished to create a film like where जहाँ जब लोग अंदर आए ना
सोच के आए
तो ये उनको पता हो कि they are about to have a good time. That's the hope, that's the ambition that you're kind of going towards. So if I have managed to come at least halfway there also, I think it's a great thing, and to do it in my first film, fingers crossed, I'm very happy.
Correct. Because if you look at the comedy, the situation of comedy, it's about three helpless guys stuck in a situation which leads to comedy. That's what happened in so many comedy films, classics over the years.
Right.
So that comparisons we are bound to get in that way. And ever since Madgaon Express release, we have seen a lot of comments where people are saying, what if Kunal Khemu directs Hera Pheri? What would be his approach?
I don't know. Approach wise, I don't even know. And I'm saying that, see, I feel that films like Andaz Apna and Hera Pheri are like, the equivalent would be like Sholay and Deewar. Yeah. Your love for it, I don't think you can ever make a film that you can say, oh, this is better than Hera Pheri. It can be 4, 5 or whatever, even though the same actors. Because it's the kind of love that was generated for a film for the first time. It's like love at first sight. वो पहला प्यार आप नहीं भूलते. प्यार आपको बहुत बार होंगे, लेकिन पहला प्यार आपको हमेशा याद रहेगा. So it's like that पहला प्यार वो films. Like I'm saying that Andaz Apna has that space. Now maybe there's a film which will be very funny, but you'll still say कि यार but Andaz Apna का एक अलग taste था. क्योंकि वो आपकी उस वक्त की मेमोरीज थी. So I don't even know what anybody's take, let alone mine, would be of what Hera Pheri will be. That all depends on Neeraj Vora was an amazing writer and talent when it came to comedy. I've never had the opportunity to hear his narrations, but I believe if you heard his narration, even if the film was very bad, the narration would be a super hit blockbuster. So it will also depend on whose voice it is, who's put that story in place, these characters, how they're going to behave, and then the treatment comes later on.
Correct. It would be fun, but I think it would be a great fun to explore that.
It would be a fun experiment.
Yeah. And Kunal, I remember Ranbir was amongst the first to watch Madgaon Express, and he said that, don't worry, you have a great film in hand. When such compliments come to you from actors whom you have known for so long, much before the release, how does it feel? What were your interactions like back in the day?
They're all very encouraging, man. And see, आपको अगर किसी चीज़ की तारीफ नहीं मिले तो आपका उसको करने का मन कितना होगा वो अलग बात है. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ सिर्फ तारीफ से होता है. इनफैक्ट आई थिंक समटाइम्स when you're criticized, that gives you a lot more fuel to say that, okay, I want to do better. Not necessarily to prove you wrong, but to prove myself right. But at the same time, when you come along the way where there are people who at least resonate with what you're trying to say or are encouraging of that, it gives you more confidence to kind of go out there and do it more. For example, when I wrote Madgaon Express, I didn't have the confidence to bring it out because, like I said, I'm not a trained writer. I didn't know if the format that I've written it is worth for somebody to read, and it seemed funny to me. But then when I narrated it to 2 friends, they liked it. That gave me confidence to narrate it to 10 friends. And then when those 10 kind of spoke about it highly and it got mentioned somewhere, that gave me confidence to kind of keep going there. Now, if in that very first interaction they'd be like, yaar, pata nahi, I don't know if I would have actually kind of gone there and said, ki, hey, listen, I want to make this film. And again, when like Farhan Akhtar and Ritesh Sidhwani hear it and say that, you know, you should direct this, that gives you a lot of confidence in yourself. Like, you will obviously want to wish for and hope for, but if somebody is putting their money there, that gives you confidence. And in the same way, when your contemporaries or actors that you're fond of, and you know, even as friends, when they like what you've done and, you know, in your private space, they can be candid and tell you in detail what they like, that gives you a lot of confidence and a lot of more fuel to do better.
Correct. But all through the while, I think the film, I think you shot in 2023? Madgaon Express? All through the while, were there any discussions of the medium at which you have to bring the film in? Because 2023 में काफी सारी फिल्मों का ये था कि हम इसको OTT पे लाते हैं, थिएटर में लाते हैं.
2023 में खत्म हो गई थी. 2022 में फिल्म हमने नवंबर में शुरू की थी और 22 की स्टार्ट में ही ये फिल्म, you know, Excel had greenlit, and I remember, and all of this credit goes to my producers at Excel. उन्होंने पहले दिन से ये कहा था कि ये थिएट्रिकल एक्सपीरियंस फिल्म है, क्योंकि ये फिल्म वो है जो आप अपने दोस्तों के साथ फैमिली में एक ग्रुप में देखना चाहोगे, बिकॉज दैट्स हाउ लाफ्टर स्प्रेड्स. इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी द सेम व्हेन यू वॉच इट अलोन. एंड आई ऑलवेज से दैट कि उस वक्त मुझे लगा था कि ये बोल रहे हैं बट शायद बदल जाएंगे, बट दे स्टक टू देयर गन्स. एंड थ्रू दिस जर्नी, आई डोंट इवन नो मार्केट में उस वक्त क्या हो रहा था, क्या बातें हो रही थी, लेकिन इनफैक्ट जब मैं डायरेक्ट नहीं भी करने वाला था, जब मैंने सिर्फ स्क्रिप्ट प्रेजेंट की थी एंड दे लाइक दिस फिल्म, दे वर वेरी क्लियर कि ये थिएट्रिकल बनेगी. एंड टिल द टाइम इट केम इनटू द थिएटर्स, दैट नेवर चेंज्ड.
ओके, that would have given you a lot of confidence as well.
It gave me a lot of confidence, but it also gave me a sense of responsibility कि यार now there is no hiding behind anything. एक तो anyways as a director and writer now, you can't say कि, you know, as an actor you still, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but you sometimes feel यार ये ऐसा होता है, वो वैसा होता है, तो शायद better हो जाता. I don't have that safety net, and now the fact that I don't even have the safety net of saying that, oh, you know, the money was made because so everybody's made money, now we're going to go and compete. But I was pretty excited about it. I definitely want to do a theatrical film. Because for me, films, and with no disrespect to anything, but for me, that, you know, watching it on that 70mm, sitting with 300 people with that 7.1 surround sound Atmos now, it's just a different feeling.
Correct. That's true. It's a different magic to see that collective laughter. I think laughter or whatever, जो भी emotion है वो collectively एक अलग ही impact होता है. Was this always your cast, or were there was the script offered to other people? You were discussing with people, or what was it like?
You know, initially जब मैंने लिखी थी तो I'd written one of the parts for myself, Dodo's part was, and I didn't know I was going to direct it. लेकिन जब, और उसी वजह से fun fact is that मैंने इस फिल्म का climax कभी नहीं लिखा था. क्योंकि I always wanted to write the climax based on who's going to direct it. Okay. You know, and what is their style? How do they want to tell this film? So we'll kind of cater that, क्योंकि climax में कुछ भी हो सकता है. Action, वो ट्रेन चल भी सकती थी और उसके अंदर action हो सकता था. You know, बहुत सारे. So I always wanted to leave that up to the director and write it according to his taste. Like, how does he want to end this film? So when I got offered that, you're going to direct this, so then I wrote this. Actually, once I said okay to writing the film, the first thing that I went back and did was write the climax, and then say this is my climax, and they liked that. And then the onus was on me to cast it, and we were obviously discussing it. But I think this was pretty much the cast that we wanted to get. Like I said, I didn't have a clear picture of who Dodo would be, but when Divyendu was like spoken about, there was a intrigue in me. It wasn't, I won't say कि अरे हाँ Divyendu यही Dodo है. I was like, यार, he does comedy really well. He's a very good actor. But I want to change his sur.
Yeah.
Because his sort of comedy in, if you see in Panchnama, is very different from his sort of here. And anyways, he like in the past done Munna Bhaiyas and all of those. So you know, so मेरे को तो ये था. I said I want to deconstruct you first and then reconstruct you as this. Pratik was a easy choice because वो मेरे ध्यान में पहले ही आ गया था. Even when I was going to act in this, because I'd seen Scam and I knew of Pratik. Yeah. And I said he fits Pinku really well. And you know, I know that he's a good actor and I know he's done comedy on stage and he'll mold himself. Yeah. Avinash again was somebody that I had seen his work, but he wasn't on my radar. And when those names got taken, and Avinash was mentioned because you know he was working with Excel on another show, it again seemed like an interesting cast for me because he had only done, so to say, solo hard hitting. You know, he played a gangster in Bihar Diaries, and then he was a gangster in Mumbai Meri Jaan. All intense. So मुझे भी ऐसा लगा, you know, when I took these three names, I said, yeah, even I feel excited to see them together. And now I'm going to put them in a world that nobody's seen them in such a long time. So from that perspective, I just felt that I wanted to work with these actors who could bring these characters to life, and I'm very happy that I got to do that.
Did you ever think of Ranbir or Varun or someone on those lines? Was that ever discussed in your writer's room?
Writer's room तो क्या, मैं अकेला ही writer था, कोई room ही नहीं था.
Writer मतलब producers के साथ जो भी.
Well, yes or no kind of a question, because हमारी वहाँ तक बात ही नहीं गई थी कभी, because it was always supposed to be these three friends, these middle class boys, and you wanted to stay true to the world that we wanted to be in. And then again, like you don't know, I mean, all things considered, when you're talking about stars, then I don't know if it would justify every star to do that bit and who would play what and if they would come together, you know, fit into this world. So I don't think we kind of went that big anyways from the inception.
Right. And you know, it has been 8 weeks since the release. When you look at the film now, is there anything you would make differently in this film?
Nahi yaar, I think luckily I feel I've been able to be that guy who's been able to let go of a lot of things and realize that every scene, every shot can be done in so many different ways. But I've always let instinct drive me and felt that if this feels right now, we'll go with it. Of course, in retrospect, you can go back and say, yes, ऐसा होता. मुझे बस एक shot मुझे कि ये मैंने ये लिया क्यों नहीं, वो मुझे आज तक खटक रहा है एडिट से कि जब वो पिंक और ये लोग जो बीच में भाग कर आते हैं ना, और उसका हाथ सूज गया है, तो वो ऐसा ओ नो कुछ मुझे काटा ऐसा करता है. I just wish I had a shot of him bringing the other hand so you could see the comparison of the two hands. I personally missed that one particular thing and I was like, oh shit, ये मेरे से कैसे छूट गया और उस वक्त ये सूझा क्यों नहीं, क्योंकि हमको लाइट में बराबर दिख रहा था, इतना बड़ा हाथ है और फनी लग रहा था, लेकिन वो साला उस वक्त नहीं पता चलता है भागते भागते the first reveal. So I wish I had that shot of the other hand being there. Okay. That's one thing that I would want.
That's a small tweak basically. That's
that I didn't have that shot, so I was like, ये shoot ही नहीं किया.
And there's one character of Upendra Limaye sir, which is wacky as wacky as it gets, and there's so much comedy around his name and everything. What was the process of writing that character?
You know, he was the first guy, while writing only I knew that there were two people I thought of that. This is when I was writing it without anything. Either it was going to be Mahesh Manjrekar or it was going to be him. Because both I've worked with. And I love them both as actors, and they both have this, you know, they have this ability to be menacing and funny at the same time. And I wanted Mendoza to be like that. So I written to those suits. But by the time I started, you know, I wrote this and all that, I know Maheshji got very unwell at some point, and I was like, I don't know if, you know, because that headstand was written. And I don't know why that became the first thing in my head, saying that, you know, I don't want to bother him with this, that and the other. And then did I meet Upendra somewhere, or I might have reviewed Traffic Signal, because that's where I worked with him, and then I just heard his voice again and he has that really bassy heavy voice, right? And then from that day I was like, this is Mendoza and this is who I want to, like, you know, play Mendoza, and then we'll find the Kanchan comedy for him. So Mendoza was, Upendra Limaye was always supposed to be Mendoza.
And then Animal happened, and
Animal to in fact it's so weird, like when he was shooting with me, he was shooting for Animal. So he was like, मेरा वो हेयर कट का एक चल रहा था, he said मेरा वो ऐसा, I said नहीं मेरे को थोड़ा पीछे से लंबा चाहिए, he said मेरा 5 दिन का शूट है, ये वो है, and he said मैं वो फिल्म कर रहा हूँ Animal and all that. So he was practically shooting for these films आगे पीछे.
Correct. And I think when Animal happened, he became such a that 10-minute character became such a rage, and then you brought out a promo of introducing
Yeah.
him, which also blew big
Yeah.
because it was his next
Yeah,
stuffed
yeah,
animal.
yeah.
So it all fell in place basically. In
Yeah,
terms
and
of-
see that's what the power of films is, or like even like they say, you don't have to have the longest screen time.
Yeah.
If you have a good scene, a good actor can do wonders with it, and I think he did that in Animal and in Madgaon. as well.
Madgaon, yes. And Kunal, as a director, is comedy a genre or you are looking to?
Dude, I didn't even know if director is my genre.
But it happened now.
It
You
has
have found-
happened.
huh.
So like I'm saying it's too early for me to say like what my genre is. I am interested in cinema. I love cinema.
Yeah.
I've been writing for a very long time.
Yeah.
As a writer, I have experimented with different genres. It remains to be seen how I would be at them as a director, because as much as in my head and in my heart I feel like I can do it, the true test of all of this is not necessarily just box office, but how the film turns out and like how people
Yeah.
like it.
Correct. But who is the person whom you narrate your script for the first time? Is it someone in your family, or is it some friend, or what
Well,
is it like?
Soha is somebody who, if not the whole script, but she has to hear many ideas and stories. Like if I have a story and I'll tell her I have this idea, and she'll hear it. And then if I write a good scene which I think is funny, then I'll make her read that
Yeah.
scene, and and narrate it again. So she has to go through multiple versions of them.
Yeah.
But it's not like, so when I finish it, then it's not like I will only sit her down and make her hear it. Then I would prefer like one or two friends, sometimes maybe my sister or my mum. So they become my guinea pigs for that. But Soha is the first person who sometimes I'll wake up in the morning saying, listen, I had this dream and I want to tell you this story of this idea. So she has to hear it first time.
And then based on her reaction, you are like, oh,
No, not always. I'm saying she's always a great sounding board. And see, humor is simpler because you see if it's making her laugh, then okay, somewhere there's humor. But then there are dark stories and ideas that I have, which she'll be like, it depends. Let's see how it kind of churns out. And sometimes she'll be like, I don't know. And then sometimes she'll give me that fuel of saying that, acha, isko samajh nahi aaya. Now let me actually build on this and make it happen.
Yeah.
So there is one like that which I don't think she initially believed in, and then I still ended up writing the whole thing, and now she kind of likes it.
Just while talking this in terms of casting, there's one character which is my personal favorite, which is your cameo.
Oh, thanks, man.
That is, how did you think of it? Goa mein reh ke, you are saying Pondicherry mein hu, Mumbai Central mein leke, you are saying Bangalore mein hu.
It's like most of the things, like I didn't write anything बहुत पहले सोच के, or see, it's also because if you see in the film there aren't jokes, so I wasn't trying to land a joke, and a scene was never built around trying to land a joke. Jokes were like, the humor came from what they were saying, and most of the times they were saying bizarre things. Like for example, like the swimming pool thing was not written initially. It was one day I was like, when we were prepping for the film, and I was just like going through the scene, and I was like, I just had this visual. I was like, it'd be really funny if you're sitting on a diving board and these guys are inside a pool, and then we couldn't find a pool because वो deep pool है ही नहीं अभी कहीं पे. तो 20-25 दिन लोग वो pool ढूंढ रहे थे कि ये pool नहीं मिल रहा है, कहीं नहीं है. ऐसे फिर क्या सेट लगाएं? इससे वो तो बहुत महंगा हो जाएगा. तो ऐसे जब ढूंढो यार, फिर वो पाल घर में कहीं पे एक फार्म हाउस में वो pool मिला. So some of the things kind of happened like that because I just had this vision. Similarly, this cameo that you talk about. Initially, when the script was written, it was the very normal way of he says मैं bag फेंक के आता हूँ, the train kind of comes to Madgaon station and the song begins. Yeah. And now everything happens and they kind of party and go on. But then one day I was just thinking about how I wanted to shoot it and all that. I was like, what's missing is it was my own experience. It was like when I took the Madgaon Express and I went with all these things. When I got down at the station, I remember it was very hot. And it was very uncomfortable. Yeah. And there was this argument that we got into with a taxi driver because he wouldn't accept the meter. So I was like, why am I not putting it in the film? I think it's funny. But I didn't have now space because the script was locked and everything. I was like, how do I create this space? So I wanted to make it quicker. Yeah. And now because I needed a motivation for the song to start, I needed something to happen for the boys to also reach a place where they don't know. And honestly, I wanted to draw from life because I was like, how can they ever get so drunk that they don't know what's happening? Yeah. And so how do we get substance in this? And I'm not a propagator of it, but for cinematic liberty, how do I put it? And I definitely didn't want anybody in Goa to be doing that because you know, for 1 second I want to say again, oh, Goa, it's all about drugs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just have like a, for a lack of a better word, just like a lost soul who's just like traveling somewhere in time, not sure where he is, kind of meet them. And this whole idea of background score was what I wanted to kind of get in. Like, you know, फिल्मों जैसी लाइफ इसलिए नहीं होती क्योंकि हमारी लाइफ में बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक नहीं होता. हम कभी कभी एयरपोर्ट्स लगा के हीरो बन जाते हैं, नॉर्मली नहीं होता. So that line kind of became, so then to put somebody I needed another, और वो वो इतना एंड में हुआ तो उसकी कास्ट करने का भी टाइम नहीं था. तो मैं कहा चलो यार ये मैं ही कर लेता हूँ. और वो पौंडीचेरी की लाइन वो ऐसे ही फ्लो में जब मैं लिख रहा था ना, तो वहाँ से आई वाज लाइक इसको कुछ थोड़ा फनी कैसे बनाए. सो लाइक वो देता, वो कहता थैंक यू, कहता किस लिए, कहता इसलिए, कहता ये क्या है, तूने तो दिया, कहता मैंने क्या दिया. Then he, you know, and I wanted to get him out of the scene. Yeah. So it's like he takes a friend's call and he says, तुम लोग कहाँ हो? मैं पहुँच गया हूँ. गोवा नहीं पता नहीं, खुद को कहीं और ही रखते हैं. तो ऐसे ही पौंडीचेरी came to my mind, so I said पौंडीचेरी में. और उधर लिखने के बाद because of that then we kind of put it in the end also.
Correct. Mumbai Central.
मुंबई को बैंगलोर समझ के घूम रहा है.
Yeah. No, that I think that landed very well in the hall as well. I think both the scenes. I think so.
Man, I didn't expect that to land so well actually.
Yeah. When you talk of the swimming pool scene, there's entire confusion around the name as well. Mandolin Bhai, whatever. Yeah. Was that also impromptu or was that on paper?
They were all written. It was all written. See, it's also such a new name, na? And also it's not a very common name. So it's very easy to not remember and try to remember कि इसका सबसे closest क्या है. तो बहुत सारी थी. And that also happened like, actually it was supposed to be just once that, you know, he calls him Mangola Bhai and he calls him Mandakini Bhai. Then that Mandolin Bhai I just added because I said कि यार ये तीनों को गलत नाम लेना चाहिए उसको, and it should become a thing that doesn't annoy him anymore. He's like इनको नहीं आएगा सही नाम लेना. तो वो ऐसे हुआ. But वो Mandolin मंदाकिनी और मैंगोला था. वो Mandolin by the time we reached the set I was like Mandolin बोल दे. और वो फिर हमने उस पे वो BGM भी लगा दिया था.
I could relate to. I forget names a lot, so.
You know, it's like मेरे को भी जैसे कुणाल को there's so many I got called Kunal and Khemu तो बहुत ही मतलब नसीब से कोई सही बोल देगा. कीमाओ, केमू, कमू, पता नहीं क्या क्या बोलते हैं.
Yeah, वो होते रहता है. When are you going to Vegas now for the sequel? You have given us an hint and I'm very sure it is going to be made.
I think so, man. I don't know. That's so. See, I also feel that I have to write it, and it has to be, at least to me, it has to be, if not one step, but at least as funny as the first one. Only then it's, because see, with the first one there is no expectation. Yeah. And so goes the case, like I said, with Andaz, Apna and Hera Pheri. And Andaz, Apna, for you, if you know, it was a flop when it released, right? But when you go in with no expectations, then it's a pleasant surprise. But now you have expectations. So now I have to also deliver a script which is, अब पता है कि ये चल गई, ये लोगों को अच्छी लगी, अब इससे अच्छा क्या दें? तो पहले तो वो जब तक नहीं होगा तब तक छूऊंगा भी नहीं. अगर वो हो गया तो then definitely, I mean फिर वो.
But you have started thinking on those lines, or?
I have.
You have. So hopefully in next 1-2 years we'll get to know.
I don't know. I mean, you know, sometimes I'll be like, इस ख्याल में तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा था, लेकिन पेपर पे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. But there is other stuff that I'll be doing, which is also in the fun space. But Madgaon also is something that has been cooking in my head.
So you're exploring many other ideas for directing itself, or?
Yeah, like I told you, like I've been writing all these ideas that are in my head. I've been writing them, and now that I have the ability to be able to direct it, some of those I will direct myself.
Okay. And what's happening on the acting front for you next?
It's a good question, because I keep asking myself that also. I think most of the times now people have started thinking that I have now quit acting, which is not true. I am still very much acting. I have a show with Amazon which is up for release hopefully this year, which is with Rajan DK and Rahi, who made Tumbad, has directed that. Pankaj Tripathi is also there with me in that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. In terms of what I'm going to start is, I've heard a couple of things, but we've not kind of zeroed down on what we start and when. So that still remains to be seen.
And anything on Golmaal?
I don't know. That's like one of those things that, you know, like Golmaal, Go Goa Gone are these things that, like, in the last 2 years I've heard people wanting it and people guessing about it, but officially I have not heard anything about it.
But if either of the two come to you and say, we want you to write Golmaal or Go Goa Gone 2, would you? Just hypothetically asking.
Again, it's like I don't see, Go Goa Gone is still my baby because I was a part of the writing process of that. So that maybe yes, if they ask me to, I would definitely give it a thought and let them know if कुछ चमका तो सही, नहीं चमका तो फिर किसी और को ढूंढ लो. Golmaal, I think they have a thing going, man. There's a great writing team who know the pulse and what is expected of those characters because they created them. And I always feel that, you know, if you created a character, then you know their original voice. So unless you feel inept saying that I am exhausted, I don't know what to do with them, I think they should be the one who kind of go ahead with that.
Okay. And Kunal, now I have picked up 4 favorite scenes of mine from the film. So I would ask you about how did you think of those scenes, what was the vibe on the films. We have taken a printout, so I'll just...
ये मेरे पास ही पड़े.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep this to the end. Okay. The first one is the first cocaine scene,
Right.
where Pratik Gandhi falls in the bed and he gets the cocaine attack. This one.
Yes. So this was actually, this scene was the first imagery that I had in my head when I thought I want to do a fun film, but how do I put them in trouble? And this was the thing, like I thought, like if they wake up and somehow they find out that they're in the wrong room and you know that the bed is filled with cocaine. So then I started kind of weaving the whole story and plot around it. So this was always going to be that scene which was, and it ends up being the most integral part of the film because from here, before and after, is this scene is what the film is. And this was the most interesting scene for me to write because a lot happens in this scene. If you see, this is the longest scene in the film. From them waking up to them actually running out, because this is where first they wake up and discover what happened in that night and who are they within this room, whose room is it, you know, then the confrontation between the friends and him saying that he's in love with Nisha and you've screwed it up, and then Pinku waking up and realizing that he's got a tattoo in his hand, and so much. And after all of this is this, that they realize this has happened, and before they can recover from it, Kanchan happens, and by the time they go through Kanchan, Pinku started to OD, and all of those things. So this was a fun scene always, but like it was always fun in my head, but so the challenge was how do I write it and make it fun. So what I did is I said keep fun aside, let me just start writing it, let me start discovering the scene with the friends, because I know अभी जादूगर को पता है कि final trick क्या है, कि बेड में जाएगा ये और उधर, and I wanted to make that a spectacle, so I wanted to somehow lead into a fight between the three. और वो idea वही था, वो हम फिर पूरी तरह इसको execute नहीं किया कि वो एक जगह पे ना वो समर स्लैम देता उसको, चोक स्लैम, वो बचपन तीनों के साथ आया WWF वाला, तो वो चोक स्लैम का, तो फिर वो जब वहाँ गए तो सीलिंग उतनी ऊपर बना ही नहीं पाए हम लोग कि उसको ऐसा ऊपर कर ले, तो इसीलिए उसको चोक स्लैम दिया, पहले समर स्लैम था. So yeah, went with that, man. And treatment wise also it was interesting for us to kind of go through, because how do you hold such a big scene which is just in a room with 3 actors? So technically we had kind of gone through this. I had this idea of we'll take 3 different languages of telling this. Like I want to wake up with the voice handheld, so that you know nashe mein, the feeling of that till the time the girls leave. So the moment the girls leave, we got rid of all the handheld and we came to stands and trolleys. So everything is stable, because now he's talking about Nisha. And then it keeps being normal till he says मेरे को बहुत मजा आया ये, अरे हम लोग हैं कहाँ पे, वो उसको पंच मारता है, पंच के बाद we went back to handheld to bring the shiver till he goes into the bed, and once he goes into the bed everything is normal because now the boys are going helter-skelter. So that, you know, try to bring in that language and however it translates. It was exciting for me at least to say that okay, this is how I want to do the language of this thing. So that was pretty much that scene.
And how many takes did Pratik Gandhi take for that entire, the minute he starts speaking, the voice is not clear, to discover like what has happened with him? How many takes did you take for that entire?
You know, actually in the entire film we've never gone beyond like the worst day wasn't the worst day, but we've never gone beyond 5 or 6 takes or anything, and that's like I'm saying that's a bad day. Otherwise we've been okay in the first 3.
Oh wow.
So similarly for this, I think we got it in the first one, then we did maybe 1 or 2 more just to have safety. To cover coverage. And all of this, like I said, it was all there. It was all planned. It was supposed to be the way it is. We kind of read through it, so everybody knew what they're going to do. My actors, my technicians, everything was blocked. So it wasn't like we reached the set and then we blocked it. It was all there. We had like I still have like a whole album which has every single frame, which we had already clicked when we went to recce the place and for a tech recce. So by the time we would reach set, everybody knew what we were going to do and we would just start going with it. So we would just do a dry run. Ki ab aisa aisa hoga, here's where the camera is, let's go.
Okay. The second scene is the comedy fight, in which there is one particular moment where he is hitting everyone and his finger is cut. That entire sequence, could you tell us something?
So the entire comedy sequence was like I was worried about it because I didn't know how we were going to go about it, and a lot of people said you should storyboard it, and different ideas, but I kind of played it to instinct again. I knew exactly what was going to happen, but in action now, how time wise it plays out, my worry was time, like how much length will this be in the film, and it was the balance between achieving what I want to get, the drama, the humor, and the excitement, but do it in a time constraint. So to do that again, like we went to this place where I thought that we should set up the set, and first I went with my team and we kind of played it in a bare shell place. And I would act out everything, and I would put characters, and that's how we realized that how this set needs to be built, because this is, so if you see they go down, so they go down in one set, but under that is a different location. एक टाउन में एक भांडू
अच्छा ओके
वो दो अलग अलग लोकेशन, क्योंकि वो तो हमने ऊपर प्लेटफॉर्म लगाया तो सीढ़ी 1.5 फीट की थी, बेसमेंट कहीं और था, वो कहीं कभी और शूट हुआ. So so all of that planning, how this will happen, so first we did that, and then was this question of how many women will be here, what will be the thing to do, and we'll have so much fish over here, we can't have so much live fish here because it starts taking up the place. So then it was going to be a mix of, in close-ups we'll have the real fish, but then we'll make fish that looks like real. So all of that, and then again blocking the scene, and then by the time we built the set and we came for a tech rec, that is when we got down into short breakdown. And this is how we'll do the major stuff. Now let the action director come, and now we told him this is how we blocked it. Now let's see what action we can get. Obviously what you see in the film is a shorter, briefer version, and a lot of things got taken out because that's, like I said, you don't want to keep going with it. You want to keep it short, effective, and funny. The rest of the humor was always written, like this gets clicked and it goes in his eye, he pukes on somebody's head, she slaps him, and then a fight happens, and then his finger gets chopped. So all those beats were always there. How we reached them was, the action was designed there.
Okay. The next one, it's the monologue of Divyendu at the station. I think Dadar station, or whichever station they are boarding the train from.
Lokmanya Tilak station.
With the background score of Laksh.
That I have to give credit to my editor, because we edited the scene and it worked well. And we knew that we could use anything from the Excel sound library. So one day when I went to see the scene, he had already put that I laughed so much and I said, "Ye kya hai?" He said, "Ye wo Laksh ka hai." I said, "Ye mind blowing hai yaar, यही रखते हैं." And then that's how, so वो तो हमने ऐसे ही चिपकाया था, कि आप जब वो मॉक लगाते हैं ना, जब प्रोड्यूसर्स को दिखाना होता है तो जितना भी आप सोर्स कर सकते हैं यहाँ से आप वो लगाते हैं, देन फाइनल बीजीएम होता है. बट वो मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा, I said ये यही रहेगा यार, ये करेक्ट बैठ रहा है और वो करेक्ट टाइम पे बिल्कुल आता है. फिर उसके आगे पीछे हमने थोड़ा वो हल्की फुल्की चीजें ऐड की, but it worked really well. So that sound, I have to give credit to my editor.
Correct. And then you ended by saying, "अरे but रात को कौन सा scene नहीं दिखेगा?" That was there in the script. Okay. And the last one, this is picked up by social media. What was this intentional?
Of course it was, or not. I don't know. It could be. So there's a lot of stuff like this that we had intended to do, and I'll tell you why. The reason was that in my life, I have often come across misspelled boards, which I thought were very funny. Some of them actually exist in the social media space. I remember the first one was when I was growing up, and I stood outside a salon, and I thought it's a French salon, because I couldn't understand why it said "We cure Dandaram." And I was like, "What is Dandaram?" And then I realized that he had spelled dandruff wrong. And similarly, in life, I went to this place which said, "We sell vegetable juice," because vegetable was spelled wrong.
Okay.
So I wanted to get some of those, spelling mistakes, or sometimes a word gets covered half, like in this is हरपाल वड़ा पाव, but टपरी का वो तो फट गया थोड़ा और हमको इस फिल्म में ऐसा दिख गया. So there was another one which didn't make it to the film, is like when they go to that chemist, I wanted to have a wine shop on the side and it said child beer as opposed to chilled beer. So there were a couple of these things which we did. There was accident porn area and all that. That is actually a board that we'd seen.
That
it exists if you look for like misspelled words
Yeah.
on Google, you'll find that.
Wow, and you captured that all.
Yeah, we
Used
said,
it
you know,
smartly. Yeah.
humor is humor. There's some visual humor, there's body humor, physical humor. I said, ये पहली पिक्चर है, पता नहीं कि अच्छी लगेगी कि नहीं, अभी जितना आता है डाल दो.
On that note, thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
Looking forward to your next directorial and Madgaon too.
Thank you so
and
much.
everything you're doing on the acting front.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you,
Lovely
thank
talking
you.
to Hi, this is Kunal Khemmu and you're watching me on Pinkvilla.